Deadly Secrets at Ohio State, a Murder Mystery. Ohio State University was buzzing with excitement as the students, faculty, and staff eagerly awaited the start of the annual Student Leadership Conference. This event was one of the most anticipated events of the year, attracting students from all over the country. The university was teeming with life as students bustled about preparing for the conference, chatting with friends and making new ones. As the sun set over the sprawling campus, a mysterious figure arrived at Ohio State University. His name was Victor, a recent transfer student from a small town in the Midwest. Victor was tall and lean, with piercing blue eyes and a quiet demeanor. He carried a small backpack and wore a leather jacket, which seemed incongruous in the warm Ohio weather. Despite his quietness, Victor immediately drew attention to himself as he made his way across campus. His eyes darted back and forth, taking in his surroundings with a sense of wonder. He was like a child in a candy store, amazed by the beauty and size of the university. Meanwhile, the students and staff of Ohio State were getting ready for the start of the Student Leadership Conference. The keynote speaker was the renowned motivational speaker, Dr. Mark Johnson, and the students were eager to hear his words of wisdom. The conference was being held in the massive Ohio Union Building, a grand structure with towering columns and a majestic dome. As the clock struck 7, the doors to the Ohio Union Building opened, and the students started filing in. The room was filled with chatter and excitement as the students settled into their seats and waited for the conference to begin. One student in particular stood out from the crowd. Her name was Sarah, a senior at Ohio State and the student body president. She was petite, with curly brown hair and bright green eyes. She was known for her infectious smile and her unwavering dedication to her fellow students. As she took the stage, Sarah welcomed the crowd and introduced Dr. Mark Johnson. The room fell silent as the motivational speaker took the stage, and his words of wisdom filled the air. As the conference got underway, students settled into their seats and listened intently to Dr. Johnson's words. But just as he was about to wrap up his speech, a sudden commotion interrupted the proceedings. A scream echoed through the hall, and everyone's attention turned to the source of the disturbance. Panic set in as students and staff alike rushed to the source of the commotion. When they arrived, they were met with a gruesome sight. One of the attendees, a young woman named Jennifer, was lying on the floor, lifeless. A sharp object was protruding from her chest, and blood was pooling around her body. As the realization of what had happened began to sink in, the campus was thrown into chaos. The university's police department was called, and the campus was immediately put on lockdown as they began their investigation. The once lively and bustling campus was now eerily quiet as everyone anxiously awaited the outcome of the investigation. The stage was set for a gripping murder mystery, and the hunt for the killer had officially begun. As chaos erupted among the students and security tried to contain the area, Detective James Parker was assigned to the case and he arrived at the university soon after. He was a seasoned detective, known for his keen eye for detail and his ability to solve even the most complex of cases. Detective Parker started his investigation by interviewing witnesses and gathering evidence. He was determined to find out what had happened and who had killed Jennifer. He spoke to Sarah, the student body president, and learned that Jennifer was a well-liked student who had a large circle of friends. He also spoke to Dr. Mark Johnson, who was shocked by the news of Jennifer's death. As he dug deeper into the case, Detective Parker discovered that Jennifer had a close friend named Emily, who was deeply affected by the loss. Emily told Detective Parker that Jennifer had confided in her that she was receiving threatening messages from someone, but she didn't know who it was. This new information made Detective Parker even more determined to find out what had happened. He started to look into Jennifer's past and discovered that she had a rocky relationship with her ex-boyfriend, who had a history of violence. He also found out that Dr. Mark Johnson had a secret which someone was threatening to reveal. Detective Parker's investigation continued as he tried to piece together the events leading up to Jennifer's death. He conducted surveillance on the university's president and discovered that he had received threatening letters from the victim's parents. He also spoke to Victor, the new transfer student, who was surprisingly forthcoming about his alibi for the night of the murder. However, as Detective Parker delved further into the case, he realized that things were not as they appeared. The threatening messages that Jennifer had received were written in a different handwriting than her ex-boyfriend's. The letters to the university president turned out to be a red herring, as he had a solid alibi for the time of the murder. And Victor, the transfer student, was not as innocent as he seemed. As Parker investigated further, he found out that Victor had a dark past and had been expelled from his previous university for vandalism and theft. He also discovered that Victor had a motive for wanting Jennifer dead, as she had caught him trying to steal from the university library. Just when Detective Parker thought he had found his prime suspect, a new piece of evidence surfaced that turned everything on its head. A student came forward with a video of Jennifer talking to someone in the Ohio Union building on the night of the murder. The video showed Jennifer arguing with a figure whose face was obscured by shadows, and Parker realized that he had only scratched the surface of what was really going on. The twists and turns continued to pile up as Parker continued his investigation. The motive for Jennifer's murder seemed to change with each new piece of evidence, and Parker realized that he had to dig even deeper to uncover the truth. With all the pieces of evidence gathered, Detective Parker was finally ready to confront the suspects. He called for a meeting in the Ohio Union building, the same room where the murder took place. He invited Sarah, the student body president, Dr. Mark Johnson, Emily, Jennifer's close friend, the university's president, and Victor, the transfer student. The room was tense as the suspects took their seats, each one looking more nervous than the next. Detective Parker stood at the front of the room, his piercing gaze scanning the faces of each suspect. "Ladies and gentlemen, I have gathered you here today to present my findings in the case of Jennifer's murder," Detective Parker began. "I have gathered enough evidence to piece together what happened that night." He pulled out a stack of photos and placed them on the table in front of him. The room was silent as the suspects leaned in to take a closer look. Detective Parker then began to recount the events of the night, pointing out key pieces of evidence that he had gathered from his investigation. "These letters, for example," he said, holding up a piece of paper, "were sent to the university's president, threatening to reveal a secret about Dr. Mark Johnson." Dr. Mark Johnson shifted in his seat, sweat forming on his forehead. The university's president looked nervously at Detective Parker, his eyes wide. "And this handwriting," Detective Parker continued, holding up another piece of paper, "does not match that of Jennifer's ex-boyfriend, who was initially considered a suspect." Emily let out a gasp, and Sarah's eyes widened. The university's president and Dr. Mark Johnson exchanged a quick glance. "And then there's Victor," Detective Parker said, his voice growing stern. "The transfer student from the Midwest, who has a dark past and a motive for wanting Jennifer dead." Victor's face paled, and he fidgeted in his seat. The room was filled with tension as Detective Parker continued to present his evidence. As he spoke, the suspects began to react, their reactions giving Detective Parker a clearer picture of what had happened. The room was filled with nervous whispers and quiet sobs as the weight of the evidence hit each suspect. Detective Parker watched as the pieces of the puzzle finally came together, and he knew that he was getting close to solving the case. The murderer was in the room, and he was determined to find out who it was. "Ladies and gentlemen," Detective Parker said, his voice filled with authority, "I believe that one of you is the murderer." The room fell silent as the suspects looked at each other, fear and panic evident in their eyes. The detective's words hung in the air as the tension in the room reached its peak. As Detective Parker reviewed the video, he realized that the person Jennifer was talking to was none other than Sarah, the student body president. Sarah had confided in Jennifer about her own struggles with mental health and addiction, and Jennifer was trying to help her get the support she needed. In a stunning turn of events, it was revealed that Sarah had been the one sending the threatening messages to Jennifer. She was consumed by her addiction and didn't want anyone to find out about her problems, especially her position as the student body president. In a moment of desperation and weakness, she had taken Jennifer's life to keep her secret safe. Detective Parker solved the case and brought Sarah to justice, but the tragedy of Jennifer's death left a lasting impact on the university. The student leadership conference was canceled, and a memorial was held in Jennifer's honor. The students of Ohio State University came together to support each other, and they were reminded of the importance of mental health and the dangers of addiction. The once bustling and lively campus was now marked by sadness and loss, but the students and faculty of Ohio State University remained united in their determination to move forward and create a better future. The campus would never be the same again, but the memories of Jennifer would live on, and the lessons learned from her tragic death would never be forgotten.